Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You've downloaded the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast with Matt and Amy, recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois. Welcome to episode 94 for December 2nd, 2024.
Well, hello there, children. Welcome back to your weekly freak show that is the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. I am Matt, along with the Frozen Tundra Coach Amy. How are you, my love?
You know what? It's crazy. I'm great.
It's cold.
It's cold.
We wanted it to cool off so we could enjoy, sweatshirt weather and jean weather. We want it to be like winter like it is in the Hallmark movie where it's cold but it's not really cold, like it's fake winter.
And you're just like walking around with a winter coat, with no gloves on. And we all know that in Illinois in the winter,
winter.
But now we're having January winter.
It's kind of January-ish.
But it was really kind of pretty today.
With the snow
falling. I mean, this is the second official snowfall. I just want to put that and put it on my meteorologist hat.
I'd like to know, how much snow do you have to have before you get your snowblower out? Because apparently some of my neighbors think a dusting justifies a snowblower.
What do we have? Maybe half an inch? Maybe an inch? I doubt it.
This is not the weather podcast, but if it was, you could always leave a voicemail. That phone number's down below. I don't remember off the top of my head because I didn't put it in the show notes. But you can always subscribe. Always visit those links below that can get you that weekly marriage guide, which is awesome for us. You have your hand raised?
No, but I want to just say, we if you could please, that could be maybe your present to us.
Leave a voicemail?
No, subscribe, and give us a review. That helps.
That does help us. You're right.
Other people who might be interested in our content.
Okay.
Maybe they don't know.
Maybe they don't. Maybe you don't have our weekly marriage guide that I was talking about. That's down below.
Love that guide.
That is awesome. We love that. We share that with everybody.
Share it.
Even if you don't ask, we'll share with you. Just strangers on the street. Here you go. Here's a marriage guide. And then you always get those.
Do you need to connect? Here's the guide.
Enter Beyond Spirits, the 7 tips to start your AF journey. And if you're starting your AF journey in December, you can always download Coach Amy's Advent Don't Drink Calendar.
No, it's the Alcohol-Free Advent Calendar. 25 ideas to motivate, center, and let go and let God during the Christmas season. Plus, I have 5 alcohol-free holiday tips for parties and events and holiday gatherings. And you can download that.
Print it off, and it'll look just as pretty as yours does right here.
Maybe.
Maybe if you're lucky.
Yeah, mine's crinkled.
It's got some miles on it.
But it's great.
I know.
It's great. Client approved.
Client approved?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I had a client go, you know what? I did that last year and I'm going to download it again.
Yeah. See, it's not just the last 1 year and you're done. You can use it every year if you need to.
Yes. And, yeah.
Well, because no November's over and we don't have anything that rhymes with December.
No November, but.
But what?
I'm doing December.
Oh, well. You can do every month. Like we always say. It doesn't have to rhyme, kids. It does not have to rhyme.
It's, it's the
It's
season.
the December to remember. And if you will, as my shirt says, remember tomorrow. We want to remember December? Quit drinking. That's a long way down a short road, but I made it.
Okay, so Matt.
Speaking of quitting drinking, Amy.
No November is over.
Yes.
No November was a lot. I did tips every day. Well, and I have to say, I came on there. I made sure that I posted every single day in November. I am going to be doing the same in December.
So follow Coach Amy on Instagram.
It's at Joy on the Other Side of Alcohol.
I wanted to say .com, but that doesn't work on Instagram.
No.
Well, there you go.
So anyways, and it's, like it, share it, show me some love, follow.
You don't subscribe. I guess you do. You follow. You don't subscribe.
You follow.
I don't know. There's a lot to do when you listen to podcasts, kids. And, that's just.
Go out to YouTube, too.
Yeah, go to the YouTubes. Why not? Amy makes me record this.
I know you have nothing going on in December, so let us add to your holiday overwhelm and stress by please going out and helping us.
People, when you first stop drinking, you have a lot of free time. This could fill your free time.
Well, as I tell my clients, this is, depending on where they're at, this can be part, of a job.
There you go. Hey, and we made it through our November.
We did.
We barely even had any drinks at our. Well, not that we had alcohol either, but I opened 1 bottle of wine at Thanksgiving. That was it.
We partook of the food.
We did. But speaking of things you can open in your December to remember, that's a sales event, by the way. I found, and I don't know if this is new with them, it's just new to me. Athletics Wits Peak. It's a Belgian style white. It's good. I was hoping it would be more like the Blue Moon, but it is not.
Oh.
It's not bad. It's good. It's very good. All Athletic is good. But
I think we've already done this one.
That
right?
one, yeah. We're not doing your drink that you're drinking. Your drink of the week is actually in that bottle behind you.
I really do love the Psycho cider.
So
If you're
my
celebrating.
drink is the Giesen's de-alcoholized New Zealand sparkling Brut. I love this.
Makes a great mimosa.
It does, but it's a really good champagne, basically.
Champagne.
Even though but it's great,
Yeah.
and it tastes
If you're looking for a
on
dupe,
point.
it is definitely on
It's
point.
really, really good.
As far as dupes go.
And for the holidays, I definitely would recommend that.
I bought that to do mimosas for Thanksgiving and then forgot to buy orange juice, so that math didn't math.
I was a little...
There was a lot going on, so it didn't matter. Okay. Coach
Okay.
Amy,
All right.
tell us about Teresa, our interview for today.
hold
Another one who came to the studio in the cornfields to join us in the dining room. That's
It
two
was
for two.
crazy. The interview that we are going to share with you is with Teresa Clockingay. She is the wife to Jeremy of 17 years, and she's a mom to 3 active tween and teen boys, Eli, Ian, and Andrew. And after moving around the U.S., they ended up coming back to Central Illinois, where she grew up. Over 11 years ago, she launched the Teresa Clockingay Photography, and what she specializes in is business brand photography and high school senior photography. And her passion is helping businesses and high school seniors shine a light on the purpose they were created for. So, and she just wrote this as well, feeling when she started to embrace her alcohol-free lifestyle over 2 years ago, she felt like she was actually created for more. And she is now all about, her saying is, bring your own energy. So let's go to that interview. Welcome, Teresa. We are so happy that you are here. I guess what we usually do is we like to just kind of start with you, just telling us a little bit about you, your family. It's fun because you're actually here with us.
Back in the dining room again, we are.
Back in the dining, and you are I would consider you a good friend, and you're one of the first people that was living an alcohol-free lifestyle locally that I knew, and I was like, oh, this is so much fun.
The kids say IRL, Amy.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm not hip on a kid.
Not hip. Okay.
Yes, well, thanks for having me. You guys know me well, but for everyone else, I am local here in the Bloomington Normal area. I'm married to my husband, Jeremy, of 17 years, and together we have 3 boys, Eli, Ian, and Andrew. When I say that we're in that tween year, my oldest is 15, then my middle guy is 13, and my youngest is 11.
Ooh, that's an active
Yes,
program.
very, very active.
I'm very busy.
Very busy. Yes, we're in the throes of basketball season right now, so we're in 3 different places any given night and trying to coordinate all of the basketball schedules and practices.
That's so cool. And I can't relate to it, but my sister has sons who are almost that exact same age spacing as well. So I know how busy your life is right now, coming and going, and
yes,
everything.
I
So
say that I used to say in their younger years that we were in the referee stage of life, just like making sure everything was fair. And now we're just in this stage of life where now it's keeping everything fair, but we're so busy and on the go that it's just kind of
and you're starting driving?
very soon. Yes, I actually have an email in my inbox that my son can take his permit test December 10th.
Oh, that's a good time.
Yes.
Nothing will test a parental personality and attitude.
And I would recommend a contract.
Oh, a driving
contract. You need the driving contract. We share.
Yeah.
We can share that with you.
That's a pro tip.
It
from
really
Dunham.
did.
Yeah.
it was a blessing,
Yes.
and we had to get it out.
Yeah.
One time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, more than once.
More than
More
I
than
just
once,
remember
yes.
the one time that was a big deal.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, we're not here to talk
About
about
teen driving safety.
teen
but-
driving safety. You're right.
Yes.
So,
But if you would like that, email amy@jointheirside.com. We get
and
your.
I can send you this contract.
I will be following up on that.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. So tell us, okay, let's just kind of dive in to your story about, your drinking, and I'm just going to let you kind of just tell us wherever you want to start
Yeah.
with it.
Do you want where it started or like how I got to where I am now?
You can wherever.
Okay.
In the beginning.
In the beginning.
I think in high school is probably where the beginning kind of started. You're going out with your friends and you're experimenting with alcohol, and that just kind of continued then into those college years. And it just started to become this routine and habit that on the weekend, you have a couple of drinks. I think our society leads so much into, if you had a good day, have a drink. If you had a bad day, have a drink. And so it was just very socially accepted to have a drink. So, fast forward many, many years, met my husband, and, we just kind of kept up this lifestyle, and you surround yourself with friends who, you get together on the weekend, have a fire, have a couple drinks, and that just seems to be the norm. And as I've shared with you guys before, I'm a very active individual, and I have always been, after high school, I played recreational softball and volleyball. I like to bike, hike, anything. And in 2020, I took up the hobby of running. And a friend encouraged me to do a half marathon. So in 2021, I did my first half marathon, and I completed it. So anyone who doesn't know, a half marathon is 13.1 miles. And being the competitive person that I am, I wanted to do better. So I signed up for another one, and I did better, but I didn't land where I wanted to. And so I felt like I could improve on this. So in the off season, so the half marathon that I trained for was in April, May. So my off season would be kind of like in the fall through the winter. So I had signed up for a couple of races, and I was noticing the same thing, that I would always hit a wall and I couldn't really get past a certain pace. And I knew in my half marathon, in that longer distance, that fueling was the problem. And fueling is just what you're eating and consuming to help you get through this, 2-hour or more race.
Sorry.
Some people do it in less time, but I am not one of them.
For us common runners.
Yes. So I knew that there was probably more to this. So after a disappointing race, and disappointing was, I found myself walking again, and that was my biggest frustration. I knew that I could do the distance for the race, but yet when I got to a hill, here I was, easily throwing in the hat. So I decided to look at my nutrition, and being the research gal that I am, I quickly found out how alcohol was actually inhibiting what I was doing. That every time that I was working out through the week, when the weekend would come and I would have a couple of drinks, I was sabotaging all of the work that I was doing. I think the research had shown that it inhibits your muscle development and muscle growth. And so I decided for 30 days, which was the time between that race that I was disappointed with and my next one, that I would really look at my diet and I would cut alcohol out. And sure enough, when I towed the line and ran that race, when I crossed the finish line, I finished in the fastest time that I'd ever ran a 5K. Still haven't beat it. Would love to match that again. But I thought, okay, there really is something to this. I was feeling really good. I like to say that it feels good to feel good. And every morning when I would wake up in those 30 days, I was noticing I was feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
Boy, some of these anxiety issues that I was having were diminishing, and my hormones felt like they were in sync instead of out of whack. And
Because you thought you were living a normal life, right? I just have these imbalances because that's normal. I'm not doing anything not normal.
you talk to another woman and it just seems like, oh yeah,
Well, they-
I have hormone issues too.
Because I'm drinking wine too or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then right after that, the after I finished that race, I decided let's go another month and just see what happens. And it's actually, so I pulled up the numbers on this. It has been, let me get this right, 793 days today since my last drink. And 1 week from today will be 800.
That is
Right?
so awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So it was this time 2 years ago that I was making these decisions because at our church, they were talking about a Christmas offering and what could you give up between now and Christmas and give extra to our Christmas offering. And that's when I had this little stirring that like, what if I went longer than this 60 days? What if I went a whole year? Because when I did the math on how much I was saving during that time, that number wasn't big enough. I felt like I needed to be adding a little bit more to it. So I went a whole year and it just kept going.
That's exciting. I love it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's so exciting. I looked up my days today and I'm at 1701, which I'm like, I can't.
I'm still hanging my hat on my calorie savings. After almost, I'm going on 4 years in January 1st. I'm close to 1 million calories.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Wild. I
Yeah.
don't usually look at the calorie. I usually look at the dollar. I didn't at days.
Yeah, I just stumbled across. I'm like, oh, it has a calorie. I'm like,
The
holy
calories.
cow.
Yeah.
It is so huge, but that's fascinating. I love how you talked about how it messes up your muscle development.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even really realize that. I mean, but
Right.
that wasn't because that's not the sphere that we were looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So
So how much were you drinking when you were doing all this training? Like was it
Or
every
even
night or it's on the
prior.
weekend or
Yeah.
prior to that? Like, did you feel like you had any kind of quote unquote drinking problem
You know,
before
I
that?
would question myself from time to
Mhm.
time. And I think that's the biggest indicator that if you're asking yourself, am I drinking too much or do I have a drinking problem? Then the answer is probably yes. And I had asked myself that before. So I would say that I fell into a heavy drinker, the heavy drinking category, which for a woman is 7 drinks. That's on average 1 a night or
Mhm.
like
And that's easy to do, right?
it really is. You know, Thursday's really close to the weekend.
Amen, sister.
And, you know, Friday, it's not too hard to have a couple of drinks. Then Saturday, you have an afternoon drink with neighbors. Yeah, maybe you have a couple more at dinner. And boom, you're hitting those numbers.
Yeah.
So,
That was, I think, it's interesting that, you bring that up because for me, I didn't even really get real with myself about that until like a year later. Like,
Yeah.
I was just like going, I didn't drink that much. But,
mhm.
but you kind of skirt around it.
Yeah.
Go, oh, well, if I drink this much. And then when I figured up the actual ounces of like the real size, the
Yeah.
real drink that I was actually having, that's for me, it was like, okay, that's
Well,
kind of crazy.
And is a real drink 12 ounces? Because some of those
Well,
cans
beer.
are 16 ounces.
Well, and the game I started to play was, well, it's 12 ounces, but I'll look for an IPA with like a 9%.
Yeah,
Well,
it's 5%.
5%, 12 ounce.
ounces.
Oh, okay.
5%,
But if I can get
yeah.
a 16 ounce 9% and 2 of those,
And if
well,
you have
that's
a
a whole, that's like a 5-pack or 4-pack, right?
And a glass of wine is 5 ounces.
Yeah. Oh, but that's not 12 ounces.
Yeah. We don't know if
You get like
enough is-
2.5 glasses then.
Yeah.
When you sit there, and I'm like, I just found a picture the other day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the glass. I mean, it was all, just that. I'm like, oh, well, that was I
good
called
pour.
it the I deserve a drink pour. I deserve this. And it's like, oh my God.
What was your drink of choice?
I loved Blue Moon. That was probably my favorite.
Blue Moon has an NA now, though, so
So actually, that's my favorite drink now, is because Blue Moon was always my go-to. I loved a good wheat beer, good Hefeweizen. I don't even know how to say the word. I'm and so yeah, if I'm gonna have one, and it's been a very long time, probably over the summer, maybe we were grilling, and it just sounded like burger and a beer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let's go grab one. So
That's crazy. So tell us about some of the other benefits
there's so many,
that
right?
you discovered.
Because you quit for the running. You're like, okay, let's see what does for the running, but the other things came along, right?
So I hinted at the hormone. So now I would say like my skin has cleared up, the darkness under my eyes. I lost a little bit of weight really easily. You know, kind of those last 3 to 5 pounds that you can never, it was like, oh, that just vanished away. Relationships with my children, with my husband, and just the relationships that I've now gained, I would say that you've been inspiring to me. I think was some of how I got to where I am, is that it was curious about the sober life and meeting you and, like, oh, we can do this.
And you're not alone. You're not the only,
Not alone.
that's the worst part, is like, you feel like the only person in the world who's not doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I felt that our very first weekend after I made this decision to go 30 days without, we were going to a friend's 50th birthday. And they know me as one who's going to have a drink. And so we'd also been at a University of Illinois tailgate. So we had been there at the tailgate, and then we left there to go to this 50th celebration. And I remember thinking ahead of time, I'm sure they have an NA beer or something that they can put into a glass so that way I can hide that I'm not drinking but still fit in with everyone.
Right.
And they did, and it was fine. And I remember leaving there and just feeling so proud of myself that, wow, I can go and I could be around people and have a drink and then leave there knowing I'm sober.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you didn't stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. Nobody even questioned it because it looked like I was having a drink. But now it's become such a norm that people don't even question that Teresa's going to have, a LaCroix, or she's going to have a water, or she's going to have a hot tea.
It just takes time to rebrand yourself as, instead of that the boozy one, you're now the non-boozy one.
Yes, I love how you phrase that, like rebranding yourself, a different person.
Yeah.
Yes. And because our identity, and I'm speaking from us, our identity was we were drinkers.
Mhm.
Like, this is what we do
That's
together.
what we do. Yeah.
This is what we do.
And I would say, and you probably experienced this too, friendships changed. You're still friends with those, but the friendship might look different. And then you actually gain new friends who are in this other realm of life,
Right.
and that are similar to you. And you feel comfortable that you can go out and do stuff with. Like, you can go do, so even with my husband and our relationship, we can still go do all the same things we did before. We just do it alcohol-free now.
Right.
You go golfing without alcohol.
Yeah. Does your husband, is he still drinking, or?
So he dialed it back.
Okay.
He took a pause for a while too, and then he might have a drink on the weekend. But
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because we were both instigators.
But in the drinking or the
Yeah,
not drinking?
drinking.
Yes.
But I know that there were certain times where it was just like if you were doing something, I'd be like, oh, let's go do this, and and vice versa. But I also know that I was an instigator when we would go out, when I would go out with friends.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was the one. It was like, I mean, and this was for anything. We would go out with the girlfriends, and it was like, oh, okay. I would order a drink, and then no one else would, and I would be like, okay, here I am now drinking.
But Tracy, that wanting to just fit in to an environment is one of the reasons why. And you're from here, so you'll understand.
Mhm.
When we quit, I went out to Little Beaver Brewery, and I'm like, talk to them like, could you brew an NA beer? It's like, it's very expensive. It's a whole process. But Chad's like, well, I just need somebody to ask. Like, I can order in, and that's why they carry Untitled out there. I'm like, cool. So now when you have work happy hours, like, let's go there. I think all of them have it now, right?
Yeah.
But at the time, nobody else did. I'm like, I just want one tap house to go to where I can have a quote unquote beer
Mm-hmm.
and look the part. Feel, I don't want to stand out as like this weirdo, and I honestly enjoy beer.
Right.
So it's, especially when people are just starting, right? Like, standing out is the worst part. I mean, I'm not long enough now. It's like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't like that, I don't drink, whatever. But in the beginning, it's like, I just want to still feel like I fit in. That's a hard part, right?
Right. Because I think there is that fear that you don't want to lose your friends. You don't want them to think that you use the word weird, which I think is, odd that we even think it's weird that we don't drink.
Right.
But yeah, I think that was the biggest fear, is that people weren't going to want to hang out with us anymore as non-drinkers. And you don't want to, nobody ever wants to stand up like a sore thumb. But that's the thing that I've come to realize is that we are all very selfish, self-centered, that we're all worried about what we look like. And that's actually, you're worrying about what you look like, and you're worrying about what you, like, everybody's so focused on themselves that they're not even focused on you.
Right. Yeah.
I remember going out to eat one evening, and the server came over and asked, she gave us the drink menu and asked us what we wanted to drink. And I ordered a Sprite or a water. And she didn't think anything of the fact that I wasn't ordering a drink. And I think that was the light bulb moment of, wait, people don't even really care what I'm drinking.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And especially if I'm a drinker, as long as I have my drink, I don't really care if you're not, as long as I get my drink.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it was interesting, and maybe you're experiencing this. When you go out, now I'm starting to see other people who aren't drinking. Because in the past, it was like, all right, everybody drank.
Mm-hmm.
How could I not drink? And now it's like, oh, they're not drinking. They're not drinking. I didn't know that I could go out for dinner and not drink.
I think I thought everyone was drinking too. Yeah. Where sometimes, I would be the one that was having a drink.
Right.
Or more drinks. Maybe everyone was having drinks, but I was ordering a second drink. And other people, there might have been a handful of other ones at the table that were also having another drink. But now it's interesting to see that. Well, now I don't necessarily see it because now I go to bed earlier. I don't stay out as late anymore. I'm probably not as fun as I'm a different life of the party now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And now I would say that I've seen friends who are curious about the alcohol-free life and have expressed, interest in looking into it.
Isn't that always interesting? We've noticed that too, that like nobody asks you about it, or talks about it, but when they know you are, that you become like a safe space, and they don't necessarily disclose how good or bad their issue is, but it's kind of like if you have to Google it, you might have a problem. But if they know there's somebody that they're a friend of who has gone down this road, it's like, oh, that's why we always like to share, like, even like our Facebook, just our own pages of like, here's an NA beer. And I have friends who follow, and it's like, they still drink, but they're like, I like to, they're interested from the standpoint of like dialing it back, as you meant, like your husband, like, I'll have an NA beer now instead of a regular beer. So, speaking out about it, there's no shame in it. People are like, oh, I don't want people to know I had a quote unquote drinking problem. Yeah. I'm like, I just drank more than I probably should.
Yeah.
Well, and also that it's now, I mean, because you truly quit, believe, you were looking at this, I want to be healthier and I want to have better performance.
Right.
You can't be at your optimal self when you are drinking alcohol. You just cannot. I mean, our son is in the process. I know he's going to start because he's a bodybuilder. And so he knows that there's a certain point, I don't drink during that because it probably
it messes with the gains, Amy.
It messes with the gains. Yeah. But it is amazing just that ability to be able to go, I am healthy. And that anxiety piece.
Oh, yes. Ooh,
that is
the anxiety.
The anxiety.
I remember I would wake up some mornings and I knew what I had done the night before. And I hadn't done anything wrong. I hadn't misspoke. I was at home, but I just felt this overwhelming feeling like I had done something wrong. And then when I started to do some of the research, I realized that there's it's anxiety. I remember I would even tell my husband, like, I feel like alcohol is like messing with my hormones in some way, that it's making me feel like anxious. And it does.
Yeah. How did you say that?
It completely does. And it's interesting because I was at a doctor's appointment today and talking with my nurse practitioner, and which is funny because she follows us, and it was just really interesting because her and I talked about like red wine and or any alcohol really. She's like, it just messes with, if you're gonna drink, you're not gonna sleep. Yeah. Some people can't.
If you drink enough, like I did,
well, that's true. But as a woman, most women,
right,
it does. It affects everything. And so when I quit drinking, I just know that like the hot flashes got so much better. Still haven't, but I mean, like, it's not flame on any, it was like, that was what it was like. It was like, okay, I'm on fire now. And so that is a huge point. And from a women's health perspective also, it does mess with your hormones, but as you're going through perimenopause and into menopause, it definitely messes with your metabolism, the cortisol levels in your body. If you have 2 drinks on a weekend, you're not going to get that out of your system for another 7 to 10 days. And I even read a doctor talking about it saying, it's about 3 weeks.
Wow.
But so then your weekend, to your, by the way, I only drink on the weekends or Thursday through Saturday. Well, that's enough, and you restart all over again, right?
Yeah.
And if you get your cortisol levels up, you're not going to be able to get rid of that lovely wine belly that I wore apparently for a long time. Because looking back on pictures, I'm like,
Oh, yeah. Have you looked back at some photos and seen some differences?
When you said looked at pictures, so I actually took a picture of myself on day 1 of that decision and then day 30. And I would even do like every 7 days and I would put it side by side and boy, I could just see the swelling,
Yes.
puffiness in my face went away. And I showed it to a friend and she couldn't see it. She was probably just being kind. But it was kind of remarkable to see. And I can go back and I can look at pictures, memories that pop up online of myself and I can see in my face, like, oh, you can see.
you could see it. And you could see it in your eyes too. There's something about your eyes aren't as bright and they're not as fully open.
It's called a hangover. Teresa, I'm curious. So one of the things people say when you quit drinking, and so you're a small business owner, you own a photography studio. A lot of people say like their business does better, they're better at their job. Did you notice any of those impacts from after you stopped?
I did. I was just telling somebody about this earlier that so when I chose to save that money and give it in the Christmas offering, I saw my business grow so much the following year. So now we're in year 2, and actually what ended up happening is there was an amount that came to me, and I said that I wanted to donate, and when that whole year came around, I decided to just double that number. And so now here we are in year 2, and I'm deciding to double that number from last year again. So yes, I would say my business has done so much better because I'm focusing more on it. I'm coming from a place of, maybe it's clarity. I don't know that I can exactly put the words into what it is, but that I've really put a lot of purpose into what I do now. I feel like my focus is so much clearer.
Yeah.
It's not fogged. Yeah. That because I was obedient in one area of my life, I'm seeing growth in another.
Yeah. It's funny because I saw the same thing in my business, and I can't kind of exactly what you're saying. Like, I didn't like change my marketing strategy or do something magical, but I put I changed my focus, and I think it's they always say a 1% change makes a big difference. I think we make that change, and you're doing 1% better every day, just doing little things like, oh, maybe I get up earlier because I'm not hungover, or I can do one more task because I had the energy. Right? I think you start seeing that culmination. So it's not just like your health and your looks didn't change overnight. The business didn't either. But when we look back in retrospect, it's like, wow, I don't know what changed. I know what I changed. I don't know how I got to where I'm at necessarily, but I know I changed a few things that have made an impact.
It just multiplies. Yeah. It's that ripple effect, I think, that we realize. Like, I remember coming into the solopreneurs meeting, maybe one of the first ones, and it was like, okay, I'm joining.
For those listening, that's like a little marketing group, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was joining it under my coaching business, and I'm an alcohol freedom coach. I'm going into a chamber of commerce, and I'm going to share this.
And the business world is wrought with alcohol.
It was so nerve-wracking to do that, but it was so interesting because there were several people, like you were one of them, Crystal, who's been on our show as well, she was another. And she goes, "Oh, Amy, Teresa doesn't drink either." Like, oh my gosh.
There's a handshake you have to learn and everything.
It was funny though, because it made me feel like, okay, I am not alone anymore. I'm not this thumb sort
The ledge, right?
yeah, like thinking, and it was really nice. And there's some other people who I have met through that as well. And maybe not like you and I, who like we made a choice, like, okay, we're no longer partaking in this.
Yeah.
But other people who just don't drink or don't drink as much as I did. So that's been a really wonderful experience to find kindred spirits, I think.
I think that's what makes and has made my story a success, is to surround myself with other people so I could find commonality or accountability.
Yeah.
With somebody.
And
That
it's,
was
it's so nice. It's like, okay, well, if I'm going to go to this event, at least I know somebody else who is not going to be drinking, and I can just, feel more comfortable. And at that point, I think when I joined, I don't even remember. I think that was a year or two ago now, 2 years ago, probably. So I was, even back further, and just this, it just keeps getting better, I think, is one of the things. Like, I even had a revelation this week. I'm like, wow, really what this is it's self-discipline, it's self-control, and it's so freeing. I've thought about it before, but I'm like, you know what, living a life where I am in complete control of this, it is freedom. It's freedom when you at 10 o'clock at night can get in your car and drive it wherever you.
We're not awake at 10 o'clock at night. Come on now.
Not either, but I have had to get up or do that.
You talked about it earlier, and you saying getting in the car at 10 o'clock reminded me of it. When I would go out before with friends, I've had conversations with my husband now. Like, he doesn't have to worry about me going to an event. He knows that if I say I'm going to be home at 9:30 or 10, I'm going to be home at 9:30 or 10. It's not going to be
one more drink.
It's not going to be one more drink. It's not Teresa's, sending a message of like, oh, we're having a lot of fun. It's interesting what we define as fun now.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to ask too, you had talked about like your relationship with your kids.
Yeah.
Can we dive into that?
Yeah, sure. So I spoke earlier about that anxiety, and I feel like some days after the day of having some drinks, that the next day I would be short with my children, and I found that I'm not short-tempered with them. In fact, I'm so much more calm. It's like I don't even have that temper. That person doesn't, she doesn't exist anymore, thank goodness. And my children, I love, especially since I have a high schooler, that he's coming into these ages and soon he'll be a young adult and launched off into the world on his own, that he's seeing this great example at home of a before and a now. And just, we go to different things now, and I don't want people to think that I don't enjoy being around people who are drinking.
Yeah.
I just look at it through a different lens, and it's not that you can't have a drink around me and it's going to make me backslide or anything. Like, it's nothing like that at all. It's purely a choice, a discipline now. But when we go to sporting events where he sees people that he knows day to day, and then he knows that they've been drinking, all of them start to recognize that their personality has changed. Like, oh, I think that person was drinking, and maybe that person was drinking too much, and it's caused them to now not want to experiment with drinking when they get older.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, the biggest gift out of all of it. And I gifted myself with the it feels good to feel good, but that now my kids are reaping this benefit and this choice too.
And if you have a home emergency at 9, 10, whatever time, you're not, oh, well, I've had too many drinks, or we're doing this, and all that mental calculation and gymnastics you have to do, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of on the relationship side, Teresa, I want to ask, and you don't obviously know names or anything, but were there relationships that were either they didn't really want to accept that you were quitting drinking and want to kind of keep you on the drinking train, or or just stepped away because like it's too much of their life. Did you have any of those scenarios?
Yes, I would say that some friendships fell away, and what we've noticed even more recently is maybe we're not getting invited to all the things because our lives look a little different.
Right.
And that took a little bit of self-reflection and realizing, well, that's actually okay because maybe I don't want to partake in those,
If I was
kind
kind around
conversation.
it drinking and
yeah, because sometimes in those arenas there is gossip or negative talk, and that's not who I want to be.
Yeah.
That's not who I want to stand for.
And when you don't drink, you also see the conversation and the
Shift.
personality devolve. And after,
Yeah.
some events that we go to now, even like, well, you're in the business world too, right? These business events, sometimes the long evenings, it's like, all right, I think it's time to go. It's kind of,
Yeah.
everybody's had enough. I think
Yep.
I think we've seen our time.
And if you have a loop, I think there was always that thing. It's like, okay, we're having a conversation, and if somebody loops, like comes back to something where they just said that, I'm like, you know what? I've heard this before. And which is not, I mean, I
we
know
officially
I did
talked
it.
about everything when you talk about.
I was there. I try not to. I feel like I have regrets from the past, but I've like just left them there.
It's a different time.
It is. It's okay, that was then. But the fact that, I mean, when you talked about like I didn't do anything, but yet I still felt like, did I do something? That's that anxiety monster that is fueling, like trying to make you feel bad. Like it's this weird concept of, did I do something or what? It's this questioning for who you are.
That doesn't feel fun.
That is not fun. And if you are somebody who has a tendency towards anxiety, it just fuels it and it makes it worse. So,
Right.
I think that for me was just the huge benefit. It's like you suffer from anxiety and depression and you're drinking a depressant. That's just not a good move.
Yeah. And I didn't think that I suffered from anxiety or depression. And sure enough, like I don't have anxiety or depression issues now.
Yeah.
I mean, I had them then, there was some of that, caused, but I realized that it was caused by.
Yeah, a lot of the pills, a lot of the medicines that we were on, we don't take anymore. And
yeah.
I think anybody who's on it, like, stop drinking.
And see what it does.
And then see if you
Yeah.
see, some people we've interviewed some people like I stopped and I had to add things. Okay, but take the poison out,
Yeah.
and let's see how your body reacts.
Right. Yeah.
Because then it's a true baseline.
Right.
The
amount of things that are inflamed within your system, and then they talk about the whole GI system. So I
Amen.
I see I go to a nutritional doctor because I have some food related migraines, and actually alcohol, beer, triggers them. So I was really like sabotaging myself.
Right.
Wow.
In the fact that I would have some wheat beer and that I would have my migraine the next day. It was really a vicious cycle. So it was really like I would always be like, well, maybe if I just have one beer, maybe I won't get the migraine tomorrow. Nope, still get it.
Right.
So
Trying to do every gymnastic you can to not give up the alcohol, right?
It's amazing how our brain does that to us because it wants that artificial dopamine hit.
yeah,
It wants it. I mean, and I think that is the craziness of it. I know I listened to a couple different places and it's like, it's the clown. The clown comes out. It's like, yeah, and you want to have it. Oh, you know what? That migraine, I probably won't have it.
yeah.
Remember all those good times you had?
So I would see this nutritionist, and I was seeing him through this whole process, and I would go in about every 8 weeks and just get my everything retested to see, where everything is landing. And sure enough, some of the supplements that I was taking that were, as I didn't really research, it's shocking, I know, what they were specifically doing, but they were clearing out different things in my system. And when I cleared out the alcohol out of my system, there were some supplements that I no longer had to take. And they were supplements that were supporting my liver and other inflammation areas in my body. So it was fascinating to see.
And that's, it's kind of exciting too, because it's like, oh, I don't have to spend the money.
Yeah.
On those.
Did your nutritionist doctor, whatever, did they ask about your alcohol consumption? Were they aware of your alcohol
I'm
consumption?
sure my intake form, I put it in there, but
Yeah.
Just too often it gets like we don't talk about the alcohol part. Like my doctor's like, oh, your liver, you have high liver, you have fatty liver, but just don't drink much. I'm like, well, that math doesn't sound like a math to me.
That
But,
doesn't have right.
but a lot of time, your Amy has the story of her therapist, right, who went to and to deal with the anxiety and she never asked really about the alcohol either.
I didn't fit the bill. I just didn't, I didn't fit
That gray area.
somebody, but it's, that gray area. And, not that I want to wear a label at all, but it's true. I mean, if you're like, I'm walking in, I checked off all of the boxes, but I've got this anxiety. We never talked about it. And I went back and talked to her later about it.
Yeah.
And talked to her about it and said, I just want to let you know. I wouldn't have listened to you anyways. I mean, I wanted her to know. I'm like, I'm not blaming you, but this could be something that you have other people who are struggling with, and you might want to push into it more. And she was like, I do have to do that. She's like, I have to really reevaluate that. And like I said, I wouldn't have told her the truth anyways, because that's where I was at. I'm like, oh, it couldn't be the alcohol. Why would that do that to me? No way.
Yeah.
But, the parenting is so much easier. It's a joy to be able to be the true adult in the room and not let yourself get sucked in to all the emotional stuff when you're dealing with the undeveloped brain.
All right, Coach Amy. I get it's time for the last question.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry. Our fun time is coming to an end here. I think I know the answer. I think I spoiled this early on.
Oh, yeah.
But when you're not drinking a warm cup of tea, what is your go-to NA beverage?
Yes. So I do, my summertime go-to would be the Blue Moon NA version. And then winter's coming, and used to like a good Moscow Mule, but you can just get a ginger beer and it tastes the same.
Yeah, throw a lime and some ginger beer, and it's basically the same thing.
Pretty much.
So good.
Cranberries, it is. It's delicious. So,
That's well. Thank you.
yes.
Thank you so much. I love you. I love your story. And it's so great that I actually get to hang out with Teresa on a regular basis.
It's in IRL. Yes.
In real.
Yeah. So thank you for being here, Teresa.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Teresa, for joining us here in the cornfields. You did bring that energy for
does.
sure. I just loved hearing her story.
I know.
And
She is an amazing person. I love how, she did it also for health and just feeling better. And
she almost kind of fell into it. Like, I didn't try
know.
to quit drinking, but I realized, wait, drinking kind of sucked the life out of me. So I'm like, I just won't drink now, which I think is awesome.
No, and it's great, and it's fun to have like-minded individuals locally and close. So
And before she left, we loaned her a nutcracker
nutcracker.
for some photos, which we better
Yeah.
get that back,
Okay,
Teresa. Just
Teresa.
saying.
Please don't hold it hostage.
Yes, those are highly valued.
Honestly.
All right, kids. Well, go hug your nutcracker too, I guess. I don't know what the hell that means, but anyway, I was trying to play on it poorly. All right, kids. That's it for us for this week. Join us next week when we interview Grant Wood from Bureau,
I know it.
the Tom Holland Rockstar beer.
It's so exciting.
Yes. And until then, kids, from the frozen tundra, I'm Matt, along with Coach Amy, wishing you peace and love from the cornfields, and we are
Out.
out.